kids. The only reason my 4-year-old loves cantaloupe is because he's convinced it comes from the moon.
One small step for man, lots of potassium for mankind.
And the other day when my oldest came up to me and said, Mom, will eating peas and carrots really help me pull off a fakey frontside ollie with a twist? I look him in the eye and say, it can't hurt, honey. It can't hurt.
Moms everywhere are finding creative ways to help their kids eat 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
Talk 1470, WWNN, Pompano Beach, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Peter Herrick was a 34-year-old carpenter when he joined the Navy Reserve. Peter's wife, Diana.
They were deployed to build schools and bases and to assist the Marines.
When the mortar round hit, I was completely knocked out. I didn't wake up until 6 days later.
Paralyzed veteran, Senior National Service Officer Raymond Bruce.
I saw Pete when he was at his worst. He didn't know if he was going to live to be able to see his daughter graduate from high school.
Raymond knew that I needed help figuring out where do we go from here.
We not only represent the veteran, but we represent the whole family.
11 months we stayed in the hospital down in Tampa.
We advocate, we educate, and we process claims through the VA, and we follow that claim from the beginning to the end.
Without Paralyzed Veterans of America, I really honestly believe I'd still be in the hospital.
You can help our paralyzed veterans. To learn more, visit pva.org, a public service of Paralyzed Veterans of America.
AM 1470, with more of what you need to know. Get all the latest in health coaching with Connie's Fitness Hour, Fridays at 1 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN.
I don't believe it. My savings are gone. They're gone.
You're kidding.
Nope, they're gone. They're gone.
Okay, all right. Think about it. Where did you have them last?
I remember I was home, then I took them, and then I spent them on that vacation to Aruba. Then I bought this miniature suit of armor I saw in the In-Flight magazine.
And that's the last you saw of your savings?
Yes.
This is so weird.
I know, right?
Weird? Not really. Not saving now means no money later. You'd be surprised how quickly a little money from every paycheck can really add up. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
The armor is cool, though. Oops. I think I broke its gauntlet.
You broke my favorite part.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
AM 1470 with even more information you can use. Are you suffering with chronic pain? Tune in for No Bones About It with Dr. Alvin Stein. You'll learn non-invasive techniques that can help you get rid of your pain without the use of harmful drugs or surgery. That's No Bones About It with Dr. Alvin Stein. Tuesday mornings at 11, right here on AM 1470 WNN, South Florida's Health and Wealth Network.
Hi, this is Lanny Gelfand, president of Pioneer Roofing. When your roofing starts leaking, there's no time to waste. Call Pioneer Roofing. We'll get there with haste. Pioneer Roofing since 1975. Your friends in high places. Call at 954-920-7688.
Talk health. Talk wealth. Talk politics. Talk 1470 WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show, the place to fine-tune your swing, dress for the course, club, or cruise, and get tips on the best places to play and stay at the right price. Vacation or staycation, host Dan Shub, along with his expert co-hosts and guests, will tell you where to go. To play golf and vacation, that is. Now, here's Dan.
Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show. I'm your host, Dan Shub, and tonight, like we typically do at this time, we're going to talk some golf, we're going to talk some travel, we're going to have some fun, and hopefully we'll all learn a little something. Well, we're doing it. We do have a great show in store for you tonight. In just a couple of minutes, we will be talking with author Joe Bullock. He's written a new book called Walking with Herb, a spiritual golfing journey to the Masters. And I only got a chance to get my hands on a copy last night. I had heard about it, and it just intrigued me, so I had a chance to look through some of the pages. And it's quite interesting, and I can't wait to hear a little bit more about it from Joe. And, of course, we will also have Jess's golf tip of the week for you so that your game won't suffer. We don't want that to happen. We want it to get better. And I do have some travel deals, some travel news. I've been on the road all week, so I got some tales from the road as well. But first, what I'd like to do is what I always do at this time, and that would be to introduce you to my co-host, that guy with the beautiful swing, none other than Jess Frank, PGA teaching professional and the owner of the Jess Frank Golf Academy at Boca Dunes Golf and Country Club right here in Boca Raton. Jess specializes in on-course instruction with V1 video analysis because he believes that every lesson and swing is different. Jess likes to focus on the scoring part of your game, those short shots that are taught right there on the golf course, instilling plenty of confidence. Some of you may know him from his work at area country clubs such as St. Andrews, Boca Lago, and Broken Sound. Jess loves to teach and has a passion for the game because golf can be challenging, but Jess makes it easy for you to learn and excel. Welcome. How you doing?
Thanks, Dan. Good evening to you. Good evening to all our listeners out there. And again, another beautiful day in Boca Raton, Florida, and a wonderful day on the lesson tee, and just helping a lot of golfers get better, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, it's nice to have you here in the studio.
Yeah.
You've been like pulling day and night shifts lately, so
I have been working a little bit, but that's okay. That's what we're here for.
There's such a need out there. There are so many needy golfers that your day just never ends.
There's a huge amount of need out there, and it's funny because I get the same question over and over and over again, and it's how to be consistent. And so I would like to we're going to address that tonight in my tip of the week.
Yeah, I'm consistently inconsistent. I don't know if that's right, but I can say that for a fact. And it's so perplexing because,
right.
You know, you go out there, you hit a great shot, and at least for an average golfer like myself, about half of them are that way.
Sure.
So, you know, the next one you hit is just terrible. And it's almost like self-fulfilled prophecies. You know, you hit that great drive, and then in your mind it's like, oh, man, I just have a wedge in. I'm going to get a birdie or a par in this hole, and then you just hit the worst second shot.
Exactly.
It happens all the time. So is it psychological? Is it mechanical? Is it a little bit of both? Where's the problem?
Well,
here?
I think it's more than just psychological, and I try to keep the mechanical out because when you're playing golf.
Wait, so don't tell me it's dumb luck when I hit those good shots. I don't want to hear that.
No, it's skill. It is skill, and if you're playing a lot, that's really good. But what happens, there's a lot of people who get out there, they don't play a lot. And so you have to have, I have 4 things tonight for our listeners to work on, and I think you should get out your pens and paper.
So only those people who don't play enough golf should listen to this.
No, this is a little bit of everybody. Anybody who wants to be...
Who do you know that would answer that they play too much golf? Do you know anybody?
No, I don't.
Nobody. So I think it applies to everyone.
Anybody who's looking for consistency is what, and I'd say probably almost every golfer out there would like to have the consistency. So if you play a little bit, if you play a lot, there's 4 things that I've found that can help somebody and become consistent or a more consistent golfer, that they do the same thing over and over again. And the repetition helps.
If you were a different kind of person, you might make the listeners listen for 4 weeks and give them each one over 4 weeks. But you're so generous with your tips that it's almost like getting 4 tips.
Yes, it is. There's a lot of generosity, and I think I have to give a lot to get. So the more you give, the better it is. So again, here's the first tip. Where if our listeners out there want to become more consistent in their golf games, and this is the first tip that I always tell people, is that posture. Posture is huge to becoming more consistent. I see so many people with their weight back on their heels or way up on their toes, or, sitting down on their chair, in the chair, they just don't have very good posture. And so I always teach posture as standing tall, kind of bouncing on your knees a little bit, and then bending forward from your waist. And you should be feeling like you're standing nice and tall. Just get in a natural athletic posture, and that's going to take care of itself. The next thing we're going to do is actually, even before posture, I'd like to go to routine. So we want to have a routine before we hit the ball. And in the routine, I'm going to get a little deep here, but there's a think box and a play box, okay? In the routine with having a think box and a play box, the think box is grip, alignment, posture. That's the think box. From there, we're going to go into the play box, and so that's where the swing happens. Once you get your think box set, you have to go right into the play box.
There'll be no more thinking.
No more thinking. Yeah. So we have to have so again, in the routine, you're going to get your grip, get your setup, get your alignment, get comfortable over the ball. So that's your think box. Play box is going to be, we're going to go into rhythm and tempo in your swing. Now, this is so important because so many people get really fast with their rhythm and tempo. And so what they do is they get, really tight, and then they go really fast. And so in golf, as we know, we have to have some rhythm. We have to have some tempo. It's like dancing. You're going to go back 1, through 2, and that's very important to have good tempo.
It's like a metronome.
It is. It is in a way. It is a metronome. So again, you have your routine, which is think box, play box. So you have routine where you get your grip. You can check out your alignment, your posture, getting set, ready to go. Your play box is the swing where we come into rhythm and tempo. So it's actually more than four items that I'm giving everybody there.
So this is like bonus. All away today.
This is bonus material. This is what I teach on the lesson tee every day. And so I try to, of course, we go into a little bit more detail, with grip and setup and everything. It's easier to see when you're in person. So, yes, you need to come out and, take a lesson. So if you're looking for consistency. But then you have rhythm and tempo. So, again, that's what makes those guys and girls out there who play this game professionally look like they're not trying so hard. It's effortless power. Is because they just have such beautiful rhythm and rhythm and tempo. I mean, Sam Snead. I mean, everybody's got their own pace of their swing, and so that's rhythm and tempo that will help you a ton, and also with grip pressure and rhythm and tempo. And then the last thing that I always look for is balance, because you have to have a balanced finish. I was teaching a student this morning. One time he fell forward, one time he fell back, one time he fell almost fell off his feet. So you got to have balance. It's like any sport. You got to have balance, and swinging through the ball, I always take people to a balanced finish. So when you swing through to a balanced finish, you're going to hold your finish and you're going to count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to do it again. So if you do all those things, if you have a good routine, which includes your posture and your grip and your alignment, which you have good posture, like I said, is that you have good rhythm and tempo and you have good balance, you're going to start to become more and more consistent. And so if you just work on those things, and there's not a lot of thinking that goes into that, so it's just setting up, maintaining your balance, maintaining your rhythm, and you're going to become a more consistent golfer. And then just repeat that over and over and over again. And I guarantee you'll see one ball flight occur. And once that one ball flight occurs, if it's not straight and you want to correct it, then you can go from there. But other than that, work on the routine, posture, rhythm and tempo, and balance, and you're going to be a more consistent golfer.
Where does that new driver fit into this formula? That doesn't work?
Well, that's interesting you say that. That's for another that's for another show. No, but what it's really important that I find, a lot of people say, well, I hit my driver really well, or I hit my 3-wood really well, I hit my wedges well, I putt well, but my irons are just no good, right? So
it's the clubs, obviously.
It's the clubs. If you hit everything else well, and your irons are not treating you right, but you can hit a 3-wood off the deck, there's something wrong in the club fitting. So that's also needs to be addressed as well, and I think that's just so important to do in your game.
I have one more question. You were talking a little bit about setup and balance and posture.
Right.
What happens when you get those shots where the ball is way above or below your feet, or you're around a bunker and you got 1 foot in and 1 foot out? I mean, how do you ever figure that out? I mean, is the only way to figure that out like tons of practice of those exact shots?
It is, but again, even when you have an awkward lie, you still want to be balanced. You still want to feel the ground. You're still going to have rhythm and tempo. you're still going to take your grip. There's so many things to it.
I agree with all that.
Yeah.
It's just that in my mind I have a picture of myself, and it could be my bad swing, not the topography, but taking that swing and feeling pretty good. But when you're done, you feel like you're falling.
Well,
because,
that's understandable. If you have one foot above the other out of a bunker or something like that, yes, you're going to fall off balance. But I would say for the majority
it's allowable only under those circumstances.
Yeah, that's different.
Should never be on flat
That's an
ground.
exception to the rule,
And what about the story when you talk to somebody and say, man, you jumped out of your shoes? That can't be good.
Well,
right?
It's interesting is that, there's a lot of guys who jump out of their shoes that hit the ball 350 yards like Bubba Watson, but, he's been doing it for a long time.
Right.
And a lot
it's
of
controlled jumping out
a
of
lot
your
of the
shoes.
jumping out of the shoes just tries to create power and pushing off the ground. And so sometimes if you hit the ball well and you're jumping up, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think you're creating power off the ground.
So maybe not for beginners, but people who really have improved and have that consistency already, then you can start swinging that hard.
I think if you learn that's very difficult for a newer golfer to learn, who somebody's in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, to learn that jumping motion, because that's first of all, the athleticism it takes to do that is very high level. But Bubba Watson, even though he jumps out of his shoes, he still finishes on balance, especially when he hits his driver. His feet might be moving all over the place, but he still shows his balance. So it's a good thing to work on those items. And again, if you're searching for consistency, that's the way to go.
Well, like I said, I think people got more value than they could have ever hoped for tonight. So thank you for that tip of the week. And when you get it from Jess, you get it from that guy who's got the beautiful swing and knows how to sink a putt as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be back with more of the Golf and Travel Show. Stay tuned. And we are back. And I want to tell you about my favorite sponsor. It's not only because he's sitting next to me, but that would be the Jess Frank Golf Academy, which is the home of the playing lesson. And, of course, my co-host, Jess Frank, who for 15 years has been improving golfers' ball striking, consistency, and distance. He's a PGA teaching professional and the owner of the Jess Frank Golf Academy, located in Boca Raton at the beautiful Boca Dunes Golf and Country Club. If you're a seasoned golfer who's trying to break 80 or just a beginner, Jess's passion is to help you play better golf and have a lot of fun. Each lesson includes on-course time with V1 video analysis, focusing on improving all facets of your game. For a limited time, new students who mention the Golf and Travel Show will receive a $50 Edwin Watts gift card with the purchase of a series of lessons. To learn more about the services of the Jess Frank Golf Academy, call 516-213-8579. That's 561-213-8579, or visit jessfrankgolf.com. Also, check out Jess's videos on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Moving in silent desperation, keeping an eye on the Holy Land. A hypothetical destination. Say, who is this walking man?
And we are back. And as I had mentioned before, I had heard about a book that had come out recently, and some things I had in common with the story, even though I didn't get a chance to read it cover to cover yet because I just got it last night. But they talk about this guy, Joe, who was a banker, which I was a banker, and kind of an average golfer, and I was an average golfer. But this guy, some really unaverage things started to happen to him. And not to me quite yet, although I'm still waiting, so you never know. I still have a chance. But I thought it would be just interesting to find out a little bit more about this story that's called Walking with Herb, a spiritual golfing journey to the Masters. And the best way to find out a little bit about the story, although I don't want to ruin it for those who want to read it, but the author of the book is with us, Joe Bullock. Joe, are you with us?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Dan?
I am doing great. Thank you for taking the time to join us tonight and talk about this new book. And before we talk a little bit about the book itself, I'd like to talk a little bit about you because I find it interesting. Now, this is the first book you wrote, is that correct?
This is the first book I've written. I've written an article that was posted in Golf Digest. This is the first novel I've tried to write, so you're right.
Okay, so what is it that possesses a guy who I'm sure likes golf or enjoys the game and had a long career doing other things to one day decide to write a novel?
Well, I suppose you could say it was on my bucket list. I've always wanted to do that. I've done a little writing over the years on just local things, and I've always wanted to write a book. And, you played golf as a kid, I'm sure, and just like I did. I imagine on the practice tee or the practice putting green, you had shots that you visualize this or imagine that this is the shot that's going to win the Masters for you. And like all kids do.
Sure.
And this gave me kind of a vicarious way to fulfill my fancy of playing in the Masters, just writing a book about it. And so that was part of the motivation. Also, I've always been fascinated. In fact, I don't think we live up to our potential as golfers as well as other areas of our lives, and kind of explore the reasons of how maybe we can live up to our potential and do a little better. So I should say that was part of the reason for doing the book.
Well, and of course, we often talk about golf being a game or a sport that there's a lot of lessons that you can take from it, whether you're kids at the first tee or whether you're just out there, playing that golf kind of mimics life. So obviously you wanted to take it to like the next level.
Yes, sir. I think golf is what's a great thing about golf. I'm glad you brought that up. It's kind of a microcosm of life in a lot of ways, and you can learn a whole lot of lessons in a relatively bloodless atmosphere of what works for you and what doesn't. If you make mistakes, that they usually don't maim you for life, and it's a great way to experiment and learn things about yourself. I think that's one of the best things about it.
Now, when you thought about this idea and it was on your bucket list and you decided to sit down and write the book, how easy or difficult was it? I mean, I before I did radio, I did a lot of writing myself for many, many years and wrote like weekly columns for newspapers and magazine stories and whatnot. And after a while, I started to get writer's block. I'd be banging my head against the computer trying to figure out what I'm going to write next. Was it easy? Was it difficult? How did that work for you?
It was harder than I thought it was going to be. But, it's kind of once you got kind of organized, it's kind of made it sort of start pouring out of me. I kind of had the basic outline done. And, I'd hear a funny story or something like that and think, way to incorporate that in the book and things like that. It's kind of fell together fairly naturally, but it was harder than I thought it was going to be. It took me probably off and on a couple of years to get this done.
And how long has the book been out now?
The book has just now been published from about a couple of months ago. It's just now getting to where you can buy a copy.
Have you received any feedback from people who have read it at this point?
Yes, in fact, from quite a few people. It's been gratifying for some non-golfers, and I've also been very gratified to have some feedback. I don't know if you read some of the recommendations for the book for some well-known golfers such as Bernard Langer or Hal Sutton and Bill Rogers. That had put some very favorable comments in the book for me. They liked it. I had some well-known club professionals. A fellow named Guy Wimmerly, who's in the PGA Hall of Fame, told me he thought it was one of the better mental golf instruction books he'd ever read. And then also Bill Eschenbrenner, who's the 2005, I believe, PGA Club Professional of the Year, said he really liked the book and thought it was helpful. So that's been it's sort of a spiritual, humorous golf book. And I suppose since we're on the golf venue right now, we probably should emphasize more the golf part of it, but there's other aspects of the book as well.
So just briefly, why don't you give us a little summary of who Herb is and who Joe is and kind of, so that people whet their appetite a little bit so that they want to go out there and get this book.
Okay, well, Herb, I took the name from my old college golf coach, so I'm still friends with him. We're 81 years old. He's 81.
Mm-hmm.
We still play golf with him. So Herb, well, I'll start with Joe. Joe is a protagonist, and he's a 63-year-old banker who is suddenly inspired by God to go out and play in the Master Tournament. And he's been a fairly good amateur player, but hasn't played for about 10 years very much at all. And to get him ready for that, Herb, God introduced him to Herb, who's this kind of combination of Chivas Irons in Golf in the Kingdom or Clarence on It's a Wonderful Life, or perhaps a little bit of the fellow in the City Slicker, Curly.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that sort of thing. Got that kind of personality. He gets ready to go for the Masters. A lot of the book is that preparation process, and then a good deal of the book is sent down the last round, the last 18 holes in the Masters. We go through hole by hole and shot by shot.
Well, I'd have to think that for a professional golfer to be able to make it to the Masters or have a chance of winning it is highly unlikely and improbable. Very few people can attain it. But for an average Joe, so to speak, to be able to do it, that really is incredible. I got my PGA teaching pro next to me,
Yep.
and so how much of God's intervention do you think this would actually take to have something like this truly happen?
Oh, it's a lot. It's the golfing gods, as they say, that's going to bring you down.
But we certainly, when we're out there playing,
Yeah.
we curse the golfing gods every
Yes.
once in a while because they take away from us, and then every
They
once
can
in a while
reward us as well. That's
Exactly.
when that ball bounces off the tree into the fairway.
So maybe this isn't all that far-fetched,
Yeah.
do you think, Joe?
Well, here's the thing about it. There's certainly not far-fetchiness to it, but if you look at it, what's your handicap, Dan?
Oh, probably about 18 or 19.
Okay, I used to be a pretty good college player. I'm now about 10. But I think I can almost trigger on that. There's a very much better golfer inside of you somewhere. And I think you played there in scramble golf tournaments.
Oh, sure.
Mm.
So you're about to take a group of 12 or 15 handicappers and scramble. No, shoot a 62.
Right.
Okay? Very typical. And if you were to go out as an 18 handicapper and go out and play 4 balls just yourself and take the best shot every time, I bet you break par almost every time you play.
Correct.
And to me, there's an insight into your potential there somewhere. The difference between a touring pro and you is he brings out his best shot on the first ball.
There's no mulligans on the tour.
So somewhere inside you is a guy who can hit a lot of good golf shots, okay? You just don't hit the good one first.
This is true.
It's
And
true.
It's funny because Jess
I
was
would
talking
bet-
about that this morning, earlier in the show about consistency. And we all have the ability to do real good things once, but can you do it a second time or a third time? And I guess it takes some strength from within or some soul searching perhaps to get to that place.
Right, as your guest was saying about being able to focus and things like this, and routine that has a whole lot to do it. But you just consider this, well, I would put you 100 yards away from the hole on a short par 3 and a touring pro, same just city shots all day long. There'd be very little difference in the day between your best shot and a touring pro's best shot. Each one would probably make a hole in one or have a lead, okay? There'd be quite a bit of difference between the pro's average shot and your average shot, and there'd be a whole lot of difference between the pro's worst shot and your worst shot.
Sure. Although we've seen plenty of bad shots that the pros hit too.
Hit balls all day.
Well, you make some very valid points, and when I first thought about this story of yours, I said, that's a little far-fetched, and then I gave it a little more thought, and I said, there's something to this, so that's why I kind of got sucked in. But you make some very valid points, and first of all, we all can dream, and second of all, we all can improve if we get the power from within and get focused. And so I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. So I have to ask you, is there going to be a sequel, or is there going to be another book in your future?
Well, I'm working on some ideas right now. Not anything really solid right now, but I've got some ideas I'd like to do another. This was, once I got the momentum going, it was an incredible amount of fun. It was hard work with the fun as well. And I guess a lot of what I go through in these sections, this book gets it. I've had some really good feedback from people right off the bat here, but it's just now getting started. So I'll see how well it's received, and if it's well received, that would, very much inspire me to write another one.
Now, I'm assuming that this book can be found at bookstores or some of the online retailers if people would like to get their hands on it.
Thank you for asking that, Dan. Right now, you can get it through Barnes & Noble, you can get it, or Amazon, or iUniverse bookstore. And just Google Walking with Herb or Joe Bullock, and you'll get the book. I've noticed on Amazon, some people that buy it, they get a note from Amazon that they say it's out of print, but it's not. That's just it's print for demand. So just go and order the book and they'll print it and send it to you.
Yeah, and I actually found it on Amazon myself. I'm an Amazon Prime member, so they deliver to me for free in 2 days. So it was just dawned on me that, if you're looking for a gift and it's a last minute thing, golfers are probably busy out there on the golf course, not at the mall. So if you're in a hurry to get a copy of this to give to somebody that you think it would make an impact on, just go to Amazon and you could get it real quick.
So, Joe, have you played golf with Craig T. Nelson or Dale Brown or Lou Henson?
I've played with Lou Henson. Lou, he and I used to play in some scramble events quite often. And then I just had conversations with Craig T. Nelson on the phone. When I thought he liked golf and was also a spiritual nature about him, I sent him a copy of the book. He was kind enough to give me a very good review. I really was great.
Yeah, these are awesome reviews. Yeah, no, they're awesome reviews from these, very well-known golfers and movie stars. It's pretty, it's pretty cool. So that's awesome. That had to be exciting for you.
Well, thank you. And I think you enjoyed the humor in the book too. I try to post. In fact, even as a banker myself, I took a few jabs at bank examiners.
We would